the potential here for success of resolving this matter of Syria's possession of chemical weapons and deterring Syria from using chemical weapons again through diplomatic means. I expect that this will take some time, but we also are not interested in delaying tactics, and we believe it's very important to hold Assad accountable.
Also today, there are new questions about how any plan to seize Syria's chemical weapons would be possible. A new report by the United Nations is calling the entire country, quote, a battlefield where both sides are carrying out war crimes, including massacres, hostage-taking, and shelling of civilian neighborhoods. Later today, Secretary of State Kerry will leave to meet with his Russian counterpart in Geneva, Switzerland. Meantime, following President Obama's address to the nation last night, some harsh reaction today from key Republican senators, including the second highest ranking Republican in the Senate, John Cornyn, and John McCain, who's been backing the president.
He's making an argument for action while we are in a, quote, pause, while we wait for John Kerry to negotiate with the people who are supplying, beginning yesterday, they began again, weapons to Bashar Assad. And I was very disappointed that the president did not mention the Free Syrian Army and our moral and material assistance for them, which is required. I think they do feel that they're being abandoned.
It will be harder to maintain our global military dominance if we waste precious resources, our credibility, and political capital on hasty, misguided, unbelievably small interventions. I cannot support an operation that is so poorly conceived, so foolishly telegraphed, and virtually guaranteed to fail.
Joining me live now, Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, thank you for your time. As I understand it, following the president's remarks, you had a telephone town hall with constituents. I'm being told by your staff about 65,000 constituents were participating here. What did you hear from them regarding the president's address?
Sure. Well, first of all, we called 65,000 people. We had about 15,000 that were on the line at any period of time. And we heard a mix. You know, my constituents are certainly very concerned about having a war with Syria and us intervening. However, on the other hand, we did a poll, and about 2,000 people participated on the poll, and 39% said they would support a resolution allowing the president to intervene if necessary in a limited strike. About 33% said no, and about 29% were unsure. I certainly hope that that does not have to happen at all, and I'm very encouraged by the fact that there is a little bit of an opening. I mean, just 3 days ago, we couldn't even envision where we're at right now, and I know that this is going to be a long process, but Secretary Kerry hasn't even arrived in Geneva yet. So I do believe that we have a long way to go, but there's hope here. The door has been open, and we need to drive a truck through that door.
And to your point, the president last night cautiously holding out, as your word is, hope for this Russian plan. Right. Let me play a little of what the president said.
Sure.
It's too early to tell whether this offer will succeed. And any agreement must verify that the Assad regime keeps its commitments. I have therefore asked the leaders of Congress to postpone a vote to authorize the use of force while we pursue this diplomatic path. Meanwhile, I've ordered our military to maintain their current posture, to keep the pressure on Assad, and to be in a position to respond if diplomacy fails.
You know, Congresswoman, some of the criticism today of the president's address is that it seems that he was back and forth. On one account, he's making the case of why chemical weapons is unacceptable, the use of it globally, and it is necessary to take a strong military response. On the second part of that, you heard the president discuss, in a sense, being in a holding pattern here, despite the atrocities that the administration confirms and believes fully happened at the hands of the Assad regime.
Well, I don't think it's a holding pattern. I mean, just think of what was happening almost by the minute over the last couple of days. I mean, 3 days ago, Assad wouldn't even acknowledge that he had chemical weapons. I frankly believe that absolutely he had them. He was responsible. I most certainly do not want to see us have to do a strike. And I think that we have an opportunity here through diplomatic means. And I do believe that the pressure of the world needs to fall on Russia and Syria to do the right thing, to dismantle those chemical weapons, to bring in the UN, and to abide by international law that more than 180 countries have already signed the treaty. Syria said that they're open to doing it. We need to hold their feet to the fire.
But some of the reporting today, and as we reported at the top of the show, there seems to be a snag in that Russia is unwilling, at least at this point, to back a plan that would ultimately result in military action if Syria does not commit to the removal and destruction of those chemical weapons. This is already, at least prior to, as you pointed out, the big talk happening in Switzerland, a possibility of a problem here, a major problem, ma'am.
And again, I think a door has been opened, but this has barely off the ground. I think we need to see what happens when Secretary Kerry gets over there. I think this is going to take a while, but I really do believe that the pressure of the world needs to come to bear and demand a diplomatic solution.
Congresswoman Karen Bass of California, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.